yesterday in the last video we had learned about the Gauss theorem. Now let's try to understand a few applications of the Gauss theorem. As I already had told you in the last video that the Gauss theorem can be applied to find the electric field in case of macro level problems. So let's just try to understand the first application. The first application is the electric field, to find the electric field due to a infinitely long straight charged wire. That is, let's say there is a charged wire which is of infinite length. So we are going to consider this particular wire which is of infinite length to be having a linear charge density. As I already had told you in the last video itself, that any long or thin wire or thin rod will have what is called as a linear charge density. So we are going to make use of this linear charge density in order to find the electric field at a point P at a distance r from the charged conductor. Now let us first understand this diagram. Now as you can see, this is your conductor, which is of infinite length, having positive charges on it. Now we are going to take an imaginary cylinder which is surrounding this particular rod all around it. So with the axis of the cylinder coinciding with the thin charged rod, we are going to consider this cylinder to be having an area of, let's say, a surface area of, let's say, 2 pi r into L. Now just look over here, you can see that the point P at which we have to find out what is the electric field is a part on the cylindrical surface. It is just a point on the cylindrical surface. That is, whenever we take a Gaussian surface, it should be in such a way that the point at which we are going to find out the electric field should be a point on that Gaussian surface itself. So here what we are doing is, here we are going to consider a small pill-shaped box through which we are going to find out what is the small amount of electric flux which is coming out. Let's say the small amount of electric flux which is coming out is d phi from this small pill box. So when we look at it, we know that d phi is equal to, according to the Gauss theorem, it will be E bar dot ds bar equals to q by epsilon naught. This is the general statement for your Gauss theorem. Now from this we can see that this is a small amount of flux which is coming from this small pillbox shaped area, right? So in case we have the entire cylindrical surface which is taken into consideration, then the total electric field at this point due to the charge which is on the conductor, then we have to take the closed integral. That is, we have to find out what is the total electric flux throughout this surface. So when we do that, we can take it as phi is equal to closed integral of E bar dot ds bar equals to closed integral of E ds cos theta. Now remember one thing, ds is the area vector. That is, here at this point the area vector obviously in this direction, that is, it is along the direction of the electric field. Now let us say we have infinite length conductor over here. So if we have an infinite length conductor, we have charges all over, which means I have to find out the component of electric field at point P due to the charges all over the conductor, that is throughout the length of the conductor. So then how do we do it? Very simple. We are going to take the components of electric fields due to various charges at this point P. So I have taken only 3 points. One point is O, the second point is A, and third point is B. Now here we can see that the electric field due to the charge at point A at P is in this direction, and electric field at P due to the charge which is placed at B on the conductor is in this direction, and at O whatever the charge is present, due to that the electric field will be along the ds bar. So here if we have to find out what is the net electric field, then net electric field can be given by the net electric field is given by E net bar, and this E net bar will be equal to summation E ds cos theta. That is magnitude of E net bar can be given as summation E into cos theta. As only the horizontal components will add up, the vertical components, as you can see, some components will be in the upward direction and an equal number of components will be in the downward direction, as it is a infinitely long conductor. So these components will cancel out each other. So we have only the horizontal components getting added up, which I can write it as summation of E cos theta as the net electric field. So now applying the same thing in the Gauss theorem, we can see that phi is equal to E into closed integral of ds. So this will be E into 2 pi RL. Now 2 pi R, why 2 pi RL? The reason is because we are finding out what is the surface area of this cylinder. So surface area of a cylinder, as we already know, it is 2 pi R into h. Here h is nothing but the length of the conductor. Let's just assume that infinity is equal to L right now. So in this way I have just taken it as 2 pi RL. Now we are going to go to the next step where we are going to relate the charge with the linear charge density. So Q is equal to lambda into L. So from this, applying this in the Gauss theorem statement, we have phi is equal to E into 2 pi RL equals to Q by epsilon naught. Q is nothing but lambda into L. Now we can see that L and L gets cancelled out. So we have E into 2 pi R is equal to lambda by epsilon naught, or E is equal to lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught into R. So as you can see here, the symmetry of the conductor about a central point O, that is, since I am taking the O as an arbitrary central point, we can assume that since the conductor is of infinite length, whatever the length I have above this point, the same amount of length I have below this point as well. In which case, this figure becomes a symmetric figure. So when I apply the Gauss theorem to the symmetric figure and use the linear charge density, I can easily find out what is the electric field due to an infinitely long straight wire which is charged. So this is how we can apply the Gauss theorem to find out the electric field due to a infinitely long straight conductor carrying charges. Now we are going to look at the second application. The second application is the electric field due to infinitely charged plane sheet, that is infinite sheet which is charged with the charges. Now let's say we are going to take an infinite sheet. The sheet extends up to infinity in all the directions, that is in two dimensions. Let's say the sheet is made of xy plane, then xy plane up to infinity we have the sheet being extended. On such a sheet, let's say it is completely charged with uniform surface charge density, having sigma as the surface charge density. Then applying the Gauss theorem. Now to apply the Gauss theorem, firstly we need something, some point P at which we have to find it. So at point P, if we have to find the electric field, then what we are going to do is we are going to take a small pillbox which is going from one side of the conducting sheet to the other side of the conducting sheet. So what we are going to do is we are going to take 2 points P and P dash on either side, that is on both sides of the plane sheet carrying the charges. This is to understand that the charges get distributed all over the surface. All over the surface in the sense it is not getting distributed only on one side, it is also going to get distributed on the other side of the sheet as well. And hence we have to consider 2 points P and P dash, due to which at which we have to find the electric field. So the net flux through this through these points P and P dash due to this infinitely large plane sheet which is charged will be given by phi is equal to closed integral of E bar dot ds bar at point P plus closed integral of E bar dot ds bar at point P dash. Now here we can see that E is not a variable, instead it is a constant at this particular point, because we have fixed the point P, as well as we have a fixed number of charges on the sheet which have gotten distributed. So E is a constant. So what we can do is we can take the area integral over here. So the closed integral of the area ds bar of the sheet. Let's assume that the area of the sheet on one side will be A. So obviously if one side the area is A, the other side also the area should be A only. So we are going to take the area of this one as well as A. Now we can see that E bar dot ds bar integration can be given as E into A. On the other side also we have E into A, which means the net flux due to the charges on the sheet will be given by phi is equal to 2 into E into A. Remember one thing, the flux is a scalar quantity, which means I have to add the flux which is being emitted on either side of that particular sheet as any number, as a simple number, that is. So when we take the when we go to the next step to apply the Gauss theorem, the general formula of Gauss theorem is phi is equal to q by epsilon naught. So we have applied the same over here. So phi is equal to 2EA is equal to q by epsilon naught. Now from the definition of surface charge density, we know that surface charge density sigma is equal to q by A, or we can also put it as q is equal to sigma into A. So when we substitute for q as sigma into A, we can see that phi is equal to 2EA is equal to sigma A by epsilon naught. Now we can see that A and A gets cancelled out. So when we have A getting cancelled out, we are left with only 2E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught, or we have E is equal to sigma by 2 epsilon naught as the electric field due to an infinitely large plane charged sheet. Thank you. So students, let's go to the third application of Gauss law. The third application is to determine the electric field due to uniformly charged spherical shell. So spherical shell means inside the shell we have hollow space filled with air. So the charges which are actually put on the surface, put on the sphere, they actually uniformly get distributed all over the surface. Let's say the surface charge density is sigma is equal to q by A, where A is the surface area of the sphere, and here A will be equal to 4 pi r square. That is, the total surface area of the sphere will be given by A is equal to 4 pi r square. Now let us say we have to find out the electric field due to uniformly charged spherical shell inside the sphere. That is, we can consider the electric field at 3 points when it comes to the spherical shell. The reason is we have 1 point inside the sphere, 1 point on the sphere, and 1 point outside the sphere. So if we are going to consider the first case where we are going to find out the electric field inside the spherical shell, then inside the spherical shell, as you can see that there are no charges, which means if I am going to consider a Gaussian surface, that is an imaginary surface drawn inside the sphere, then you can see that the Gaussian sphere is not going to enclose any kind of charges. But according to the Gauss theorem, we already know that phi, that is the net electric flux, is equal to integral of E bar dot ds bar equals to q enclosed divided by epsilon naught. Here q enclosed means the charge which is inside the enclosure that we are looking at, which means here, since there are no charges enclosed inside the sphere, obviously the q enclosed will be equal to 0, in which case if I find out what is EDS will be E into 4 pi r square. So here 0 divided by anything will be 0, which means E will become equal to 0. The reason is because there are no charges inside the sphere. Now let's go to the next case, that is the point outside the spherical shell. If we want to find out what is the electric field due to the spherical charged conductor, spherical shell which is completely uniformly charged at a point P outside the sphere at a distance r from the center of the sphere, then in such a case we have to consider a Gaussian surface with point P as one of the points on that Gaussian surface. So at this point, if I find out what is the net electric flux, then the net electric flux will be given by d phi is equal to E ds bar equals to q by epsilon naught, dq divided by epsilon naught. But here, since I have to find out the total electric field at the point P, then what we can do is we can take the total electric flux throughout the Gaussian surface. So in such a case, the net electric flux through the Gaussian surface due to the charges on this spherical shell will be given by phi is equal to closed integral of E bar dot ds bar, or the area integral over the surface area S into E of E ds will be equal to E into the area of the sphere, the Gaussian sphere, that is, will be given by 4 pi r square. So when I substitute for this in the general equation of Gauss law, we have phi is equal to E into 4 pi r square equals to q by epsilon naught. So now we can see that I can rearrange the terms to get the electric field. So electric field at a point outside the sphere, outside the spherical, at a point outside the spherical shell is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q by r square. So this is how we can find out what is the electric field due to the spherical shell at a point outside the sphere and at a point inside the sphere. Now let's go to the next point. So now we are going to the third point. In the third point, we can see that we are going to consider a point on the surface. Instead of considering the point on the surface, let us consider the same point very close to the surface at a distance small r, which is almost equal to capital R. That is, it is just outside the sphere. Why are we supposed to take it just outside the sphere and not inside the sphere? The reason is very simple, because inside the sphere there are no charges enclosed. And hence, for us to actually apply the Gauss theorem, there should be some charges enclosed inside a surface. So what we are going to do here is, we are going to take a Gaussian surface or a Gaussian sphere which has a radius small r, which is slightly greater than capital R. That is, it is almost equal to R, but it is slightly greater than R. So in such a case, if we are going to apply the Gauss theorem, then according to the Gauss theorem, we have phi is equal to integral over surface integral of E bar dot ds bar equals to surface integral of E ds. Now remember one thing, E and ds both are in the same direction. So E ds cos theta becomes E ds, because cos 0 is equal to 1. So here, so E ds surface integral will give us E into 4 pi r square. Here r is the radius of the Gaussian surface. Now we also have from the Gauss theorem, phi is equal to q by epsilon naught. So we are going to take these two equations and equate them with one another. So we get E into 4 pi r square equals to q by epsilon naught. So we have E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q by small r square. But from the assumption that we are going to take a point P which is very close to the surface, we have r small r, that is the radius of the Gaussian surface, almost equal to the radius of the spherical shell. So we can replace small r by capital R in the above equation to get electric field E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q divided by capital R square. So you can see that the electric field can be found out due to this particular charged spherical shell very easily by the application of Gauss theorem. So Gauss theorem is a very important tool for us to find out the electric field. Not only can it be applied to regular shaped objects like sphere or a cube or a cylinder, but it also can be used in case of irregular shaped objects. Thank you.